Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello and welcome to The Money Factor. I'm Richard Naylor, your host. What makes you want to buy from one company and not another? Or what makes you want to donate to one organizational cause and not to another? Today's guest will help us figure that out a little bit from the standpoint of customer service. I want to welcome Liz Calandrino to the show.
Hi.
You've been working in customer service for quite a while.
Oh, lots of years.
What got you started?
Well, when I was a kid, I grew up in the country, and there wasn't very much money. And of course, I wanted things. I wanted a bike, and my father said to me, "You'll have to figure out how to make some money." And I thought, well, I could sell stuff. And he said, "No, the first thing you better find is a customer." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You need a customer that wants something, and then you can decide what to sell them."
Wow.
So I thought, okay. I lived on the lake, Copake Lake, which is in south of here, and everybody fished. So I figured I could raise worms.
Wow.
So I started raising worms, sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night to go pour Clorox over the ground, oh my gosh, to bring up worms. And then I hid them in the basement, and I went to the library. I learned what to feed them, and I became the worm lady. And used to get in my rowboat in the summer and go out and sell my worms.
That's fantastic.
That's what I did.
When you first said, "I need a customer first," I didn't really fully understand and appreciate where you were going, but it makes such good sense.
Yeah, I think we look at salespeople today, and we're always we want great salespeople. They have to be terrific at what they do, and we train them. Now, that's what I do, is train salespeople. The thing is, we need salespeople who want to have customers. In other words, a good salesperson waits on somebody who comes in the store. A great salesperson brings customers with them. They meet them all over. They can talk to people in elevators and on a train, and they talk about who they are and what they could do for them. And that's what great salespeople do. And how I got interested in this was a customer that I have in the Midwest who has lots and lots of great salespeople. And before I did their training, I said, why don't I interview your top 10%? The ones that make a lot of money around here. Let's see what they do differently. And by the time I got off the phone with at least two of these, I wanted to buy something.
Wow.
For no good reason, except that they made me feel so important and special, and they remembered my name, and I thought, this is a great salesperson. And they said, we just love our customers, and I hope you'll come and see me again. And I thought, I'm not even buying anything.
And if you needed a jet plane,
Right.
It might have been where you would have gone. I don't know what they were selling, but it could make a difference.
It could. They were selling flooring, as a matter of fact.
Now that rings a lot of bells.
Rings a lot of bells. Anyway, so that's, all of a sudden I realized that it's the customer service piece that makes great salespeople. A good salesperson, you come in the door, whatever, they get you what you need and you go home. A great salesperson never forgets you. They call you. You were just talking about your wife getting a card from the person who sold her car. Well, that's certainly a start to keep in touch with your customers. And keeping in mind that 85% of a business's new customers come from referrals.
Now, how do you know not to go overboard? We talked a little before the show, and you said men sometimes they don't want to be bothered and things like that. How do you get a feel for somebody that's just going to be like, how's it your business? The first thing you say to them is nice, and they're like, who are you?
Right. Well, some interesting things are going on in retail, first of all. The primary shoppers are female for most everything. Now, that's a huge change from 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
You're including cars and all kinds
Everything.
of things?
They're
Everything.
saying that in the next 10 years, women will be the primary purchasers of everything,
Wow.
including bulldozers.
Okay, that goes pretty far.
That means you have to take a look at how women shop. And if you look at the differences between men and women, there are huge differences, pretty much. The statistics tell, they say that men know before they go to the store what they want. They already think about it They don't even have to call their friends. They do their research. They know what they bought before, and they know what they want. So I always put it this way. If a man goes out to buy a pair of pants, he goes out to buy them, he comes back with a pair of pants. On the other hand...
You know me.
You said that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, women go to the store to figure out what it is they want. In other words, they're influenced by the salesperson. They're influenced by other customers around them. They're influenced by what they see. So there's a lot more opportunity for interaction. I just read yesterday about how they're changing showrooms, not showrooms, but where women try on clothing. You know, used to be a little cubicle, you went into a store, this tiny little closet.
And where's the mirror?
Yeah, and where's the mirror? And you put on your clothes and you look around and you wish somebody'd say to you, God, you look awful in that, or you look great. Well, they're changing that. In fact, some of the clothing stores have these huge areas, like bigger than this, where there are mirrors and lots of other little rooms that come out. So you walk out and you look at yourself, and of course there are other people who say, what do you think of this? And the salesperson's there and says, well, what do you think of that? Maybe you should shorten it, or maybe you need it a little longer. But there's that opportunity for interaction, because women, we pretty much like that. For us, it's the hunt.
Wow.
We don't care if we even get it.
That's surprising. I mean, what I always think that women are going to hear from the salesperson is, oh, that is so you. That is, you know, no matter what it was, you could put a turtle on your head and maybe a lampshade with the light in it, and they would say, oh, it's perfect.
Well, women, we know what we look good in for the most part, because we're good at this. And when, you know, like, it's almost insulting to say to a woman, can I help you? I mean, we're the quintessential shoppers.
Okay.
We don't need help. But if I come out and I say, what do you think of this? Probably a woman salesperson is going to tell you, first of all, what do you think about it? Well, I'm not really sure. Well, you know what?
That's a no.
I understand. I'll never forget, I was in one of those little cubbies, and I was trying something on, and it felt like it was a little too tight. There's a little knock on the door, and I open the door, this woman says, you look awful in that, don't get it. And I thought, she's right, I do look awful in that.
Wow.
She was just another customer, you know, so.
That's great.
Yeah, we, for the most part, appreciate a good salesperson who interacts with us, who'll talk to us, give us good information, and doesn't always say to us, or won't rush us, or say to us, okay, so now you found that, are you, okay, good. Well, a good salesperson knows that for a woman, she just needs to keep on looking, because she doesn't go for a pair of pants.
Right.
She buys the shirt, the blouse, the bracelet that goes with it, and that's why if a man goes shopping with a woman, he just needs to leave his wallet home, because there'll be nothing left. She'll get him everything he needs.
Well, I'm a good clothes tree when I go.
Oh, that's good. You're different then.
I want to go back, though. That's good to get the demographics. But what about an individual difference? Certainly every woman is not the same, and every man is not the same. How do you get a little bit of a sense as a salesperson? Because I have this feeling that if you trained people just to always do something, they'd sound like a parrot, and the person would pick up on that. How do you get the sense of feedback from the customer?
First, it begins with the training of the salesperson. Everybody's different, and people have to learn their style and what they're like. And so, first of all, that's part of it. And the next thing is to watch your customer coming in the door. If a person walks fast, they're in a hurry. If they walk slow, they're not in a hurry. And you can't give them all the same canned pitch. I think there's nothing worse. You go into the store and you're all done. They go, well, have a nice day. And you have heard it, and they're not even looking at you. They're like fixing the stock or something.
It's like that airline commercial where all the stewardesses are throwing people off of the plane saying, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Yeah. I read an interesting article about Southwest Airlines, about how they do their interviews. And they do an individual interview, and then they put people in a group. Okay. And they get them to interact. And they play games, and what they want to see is whether or not you're capable of starting fun, whether or not you can laugh, and whether or not you can engage people.
And they probably don't tell you that when they're watching.
No, apparently not. But and a part of this was that I talked to a flight attendant, and I asked her, how did you get this job? And she was telling me, I had read about it, and she was telling me, you know, they want to know whether you can interact with people. Now, what a great thing, because, you know, it's funny, they're the low-cost carrier, the most fun.
And the best customer service?
And the best customer service, because you know you're going to get something to eat.
Well, that's true.
And you can't get it anyplace else, and, you know, they got their peanuts and their crackers, and, you know, they've always got a joke to tell, and you don't mind the fact that you got on last and you had to get the middle seat, because there's somebody who's funny and just makes it a good time. And that's really great customer service. My idea is to distinguish just customer service from red hot. I mean, red hot is getting your people to go the extra mile and to just love the customer and realize that their next customer will come from you.
And I guess if we go back to your very first comment, which was find your customer first and then figure out what they want, that kind of solves some of my questions that I asked afterwards, because if you're really looking at what they want, it's a broad range of things. It's not just the pants. It's, I want to be left alone. I'm not in a great mood. I just need these stupid pants. I don't want to get out of here because I'd rather be playing tennis, or I've got work at home, or whatever.
I mean, even to say to a customer, so what's on your agenda today? Like, where are you going? Are you shopping, holiday shopping? Have you got your Christmas shopping done? That's what's really going on with me, not have a nice day. Mm-hmm. And so if you humanize the interaction, that makes a difference. And we're very savvy as consumers and human beings. We've been shopping for years. I can still remember as a kid, my mother took me to the only shoe store in town. And I was kind of like a noisy kid, and I used to jump on the furniture. My mother turned around and I'd be doing the trampoline, and she said, get off the chair. If you aren't a good kid, they'll never sell us another pair of shoes, and we can't come in here. Now think about that now. You know, there's no shortage of shoes. There's no shortage of anything. You know, you think about, where do you get your coffee in the morning? I go to Brugger's. Alice knows me. How you doing, Liz? How was last week? What did you do? You know, and I told her I was coming here this morning. Oh, she says, come by later and tell me how you did. I'll give you a cup of coffee. I mean,
that's great.
That's the connection with human beings.
But it's sincere, and that's something. Now, when I say that, I know you can't be sincere to 50 people in a row in the sense that you care deeply about each and every one of them. Maybe you do in some way care about people, but there's this problem that we have. Let's say you're at a supermarket and you're the cashier. There's 6 people in line. They're all waiting. That probably won't happen at some of our stores anymore. Okay, let's say there's 2 or 3 people in line, but they have a lot of groceries. And so we just have to wait. Well, every person they come up to, they have to say hello to. And you want them to be sincere, but you can't have them express their frustration either. So it's really tricky trying to be sincere without overdoing it.
Well, if I'm thinking about that, I volunteer at the Honest Weight Food Co-op.
Oh, beautiful.
And I bag groceries.
Uh-huh.
And I do that just to get a sense of customer service. So when somebody comes through, I look at what they've got and I go, wow, what are you cooking with that? What is that vegetable there? I've never seen that. Now, a cashier could say that. A cashier could say, are you having a party? Gee, that looks great. Oh, I love that pie you just bought. And oh, you know, those apples over there, I made the best applesauce. That takes 1 minute, and all it takes is for the salesperson to be observant of the customer. You know, you don't have to be a genius for that, but you do have to sort of be outside of yourself and realize that, first of all, not all customers are right. But if you want to customer, you've got to make them right. Simple as that.
That's a good point.
And so all it takes is, you know, great colors you're wearing today. And women appreciate that. I mean, or what kind of perfume are you wearing? I'll never forget going in to buy furniture. And the salesman said to me, gee, that's great perfume you have on. And I thought, oh, okay, you know, what kind of sales trickery is this?
Right. What are they looking for?
Yeah. And the next thing he said to me, you know, my wife would love that smell, and her birthday's coming up. Could you tell me what that is?
Now you're disarmed. Now you're okay.
Oh, what a great, now I thought to myself, if that's a piece of customer service, that's like the best that I've seen in a long time. Because there's the interaction, there's the connection, and then that whole thing about sort of a sexual comment is all gone.
Right.
And
And I guess that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
You can't train parrots. You really need to train people to be people, but they have to have these social skills, and sometimes that's the most difficult thing, isn't it, to develop, especially where you have a repetitive task, people come through quickly, and you're using high school, college students and things like that.
Well, if you're going to train salespeople, you have to get them to understand what they're doing, first of all. You know, that it's really, customer service is about having a customer and giving them what they want. Now, how will you know that? Part of it is by making a really good connection with the customer, and then teaching people what are connections. How do you make connections? And talking about what they're wearing, you know, what they're purchasing, you know, what the weather looks like outside, you know, what is the time of year, you know, is it snowing, is it raining, do you ski? And this is sort of getting outside of yourself. And some people are very good at that, naturally, and other people just need sort of like a script. They need to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, let's talk about what you see. What does that mean? How do you make a connection? And that's how you take, I think, a good salesperson and turn them into a great person who has power and influence with another human being. I think businesses often think what differentiates them is their products. Products don't differentiate you anymore. You and I spoke about that. If you can't find it in a store, you can go to eBay. So saying to a customer, I've only got one left, and if you don't buy it today, there'll never be another.
I hate the time pressure.
Well, the only time that happens is when you line up at Best Buy at 3 o'clock in the morning on Black Friday. Other than that, you know that it'll be there again, you'll find it on eBay.
It'll be 50% off?
Someplace. That was 40 years ago when we didn't have merchandise and things were expensive. Now it's all changed. Things are not expensive. There's plenty of merchandise, and we've probably all shopped. It's not like you don't know how to shop. It's not like you've never been to a supermarket. You know, we know how to shop. So it's important to understand the consumer knows that. She doesn't need you to drag her around by her arm. She'll ask you when she needs to know something. But in the meantime, you have to just be astute and understand that she is your connection to your next customer. So a phone call afterward is like number one. You know, I'm so excited that I met you, and I hope you're happy with what you bought. Oh, I just love it, great. You know, I'm gonna call you in a couple of months and see how it is, particularly if you sell a big ticket item.
Yeah, not for a can of beans, of course.
No, not for, you know, like how was the bread, but you bought the car.
Right.
So, and salespeople don't like to do that. And you know, not only salespeople, owners. They said, oh, no news is good news. They didn't call us. We're in good shape.
Right, right.
But the statistics say that 97% of consumers that are unhappy
don't do anything.
They never complain, never. So let's just say you have a little survey you give out, and it says, please rate us from 1 to 10. And you get all 10s, and you say, well, that's good, and you put it away. No, you call the customer on the phone and you say, you know, that was a great survey. You said we got all 10s and we're excellent. But I'm wondering,
is there anything we could do better?
Is there something we could have done to be an 11? Because we don't want to be 10. Now that allows the customer to say to you, you know,
there was this problem.
There was this like little thing, because most customers, like I said, don't want to complain. They don't want to hear from you either. And 97% never complain, they just go away. So if you think about that, a non-complaining customer, if you equate that with satisfied, you're in big trouble. Because the statistics tell us that 65% of businesses that go out of business, if you were to look at their customer service cards, they would have, 65% of them would have 100% satisfied customers. Why are they out of business? Obviously, satisfied doesn't mean great. So there's like always room for improvement.
I get these calls, and I keep going back to the same kind of thing because I think it's one of the dilemmas that every business needs to solve. I'm not going to say make eye contact. I mean, that's like so basic. If your customers can't make eye contact with the customer, you really have a problem. I'm thinking about a phone call. I get phone calls, and they get through to me somehow. They find the director. They want to sell them something. How are you? I'm like, what is it to you how I am? You know, I mean, I'm busy. I'm busy and you're annoying me. That's how I am. On the other hand, if they could tell me why I need their product quickly, I'd be happier. You know, just say, do you need, I'm represented, I need something. Where does this come from, this thinking that we're all going to be falling for the idea of they really care about me? Because aren't we a little cynical when we get a call, a cold call?
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that the person is probably reading it off a piece of paper, and the minute you get them off track, they really don't know what to say. And you're right. If I had an experience buying, was it Time Life? You know, Time Life on television, where they have all of the
and they often have good products.
They have great products, and they have all the music.
Right.
And so I got this really great guy on the phone, and he said to me, you know, I'm from Time Life, and I have music to sell. And that was kind of like, oh, okay. And he said, do you like, and all of a sudden he starts in. And then the minute I said I like that, he said, oh, then do you remember? And it was like he and I had this great conversation. I thought to myself, oh boy,
he's good.
He's really good. Now I have to tell you also, I did make the purchase. I got another call 3 months later. It said, hey, what do you think of the stuff you bought? Different person. I thought, what do you mean? They said, well, you bought the Time Life, and we've got more. What did you like best about it? And if you behave that way, you also have to always remember you don't know what kind of response you're going to get, but you have to take a shot.
Right.
Right, because you're building a connection.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, they can't expect everybody to respond positively. They might get 99 people not responding positively, but at least don't turn off the 1% that you might have sold to by being, I don't know what the word is right now, but when they sound so, yeah, canned and insincere and overdoing it.
Yeah, I mean, to call up and say to somebody, you know, I have a product I think you might like. I don't know if you will or not, but this is what I'm selling today. Now, you might even listen to that just because it's different.
And I'm going to give you 15 seconds. You better get it out quickly, what you're selling.
You get these calls, and I even get them on my cell phone now. 8 o'clock in the morning. Hello, is this Lisbeth? Well, who else? You've got my number right. They all, just like you said, all of a sudden I already know, you know?
Right.
And how's your day going? You know, you're right.
It was great until now.
Right. It's an assumed, I think what we don't like is assumed familiarity.
Thank you. That's good.
Is that it? It's
yes,
assumed familiarity,
good.
A canned pitch, and not being able to have a sense that I'm annoyed. You sound like you're in a hurry. Yeah, I'm in a hurry. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Is there a better time to call you back? Let me just tell you what I have. You think you'd be interested? And to get a sense, if the customer...
I'll probably say yes.
Right. If the customer speeds up, you speed up. If the customer is annoyed and with a louder tone of voice, you can raise your tone of voice. You don't have to sound loud, but understanding that whatever pitch I'm at is where I want you to be. I don't want you to say, hey, calm down. Things will be good. No, they won't be. You know, this is the way I am.
Right.
Don't try to make me something different.
Yeah.
So it's that whole canned pitch. It's an assumed familiarity. I mean, if you want to build some familiarity, you have to talk to me and you have to ask me about myself. And, you know, it's always about me. It's never about you.
It's true.
We're all about ourselves. So I say a great salesperson knows and picks up something interesting about the customer. Find something of commonality that we can discuss. I call that customer service.
Beautiful, yeah.
Because if you don't do that part, I don't want to buy from you.
I think we got it now. I feel better. I feel much better about
it. Good.
Let's try a different way. I've been kind of leading on from my own problems with salesmen. Have you noticed some mistakes that business have made that are fairly common in terms of customer service?
I think that I think part of it's the familiarity. You know, like, how are you doing today? Well, first of all, I've moved away from you, which means I don't really want to talk to you. And you keep trying to move closer to me. Rather than saying to me, wow, you seem like you're in a hurry, or what are you doing in town? I really think that because times are a little tight or challenged, whatever you want to call them, business owners are nervous. You know, they're not making as many sales as they've made before, so they really push their salespeople. Don't let the customer out of your sight. You know, make sure you show them everything. And so I think as consumers, we're really aware of that. And we feel that pressure to move away. At least that's what that's what I feel in stores. Like they have to sell me something. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And that's the impersonal piece. And there's really opportunities these days to build a customer base and to get more sales. But it's not through terrorizing or doing all these things that we did that worked years and years ago when there were no products and I couldn't go anywhere. You had the only game in town. It's not like that anymore. I was just thinking this morning, where do you go buy a quart of milk? You could go to the gas station.
Anywhere.
You never could go to the gas station, but you could go to the gas station. You could go to the Stewart's. You could go to the supermarkets. You can go any place.
So I don't really need to walk from the front of the super store to the back corner to get the milk. That's true. I might not even go to that big store because the milk is so far away, whereas maybe if they'd switch that. I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm not recommending it. It just occurred to me that I often go to convenience stores because I know how far the milk is in the other store away from me.
Well, you're absolutely correct. So the person who goes to get the quart of milk just wants the quart of milk. I mean, there's something what they call a convenience store, and probably that's what it means. Things are right.
They responded to that already.
Right. They're already there. But you go to the supermarket, and what they hope is that by the time you get to the milk, I mean, it's like a quadrant all laid out in a certain way, and by the time that you get there, maybe you find something else that you really, really like. And it's funny about supermarkets. I think they really missed the boat in not being a whole lot friendlier. Like we talk about the size of stores, like big boxes, and people, small stores will say, oh, you can't get any service in Home Depot, and you can't get any service in the Lowe's. Well, they're wrong about that. What you can get is a friendly person. A person whose job, and I did a lot of training for Lowe's. I used to help them open up stores when they were first building in the late 80s, early 90s. I would help them open up stores. I did a lot of executive training for Home Depot, and they're taught to be nice.
I think that both of those stores are great. The problem with them is they have to overcome the economic problems of how many people can we afford to have in the store. But once you get them, I find both Lowe's and Home Depot, they're many friendly people and helpful. Yeah,
and that's part of the teaching, is to build a rapport with the customer. In a small retail store, usually the owner says, get them. I mean, you got one. I was in the retail business for 14 years with 7 stores. There's your customer, sell them something. But if you're smart, what you do is, and a person who owns a business knows that rapport is the most important thing. Because if I like you, what I want to have happen as a store owner is I want that person to come back and say, no, nobody else can wait on me. There's only one person who can wait on me. Where is she? I've got to talk to Liz. But in supermarkets, they're so impersonal. I mean, if it were my supermarket and I was in the produce department, you'd come to the produce and you'd pick up something and I'd say, what are you going to cook with that? And I go, well, gee, I don't know. Well, you know what? We've got some recipes over here. Now, of course, he's on a schedule. He's got to unpack all the boxes. But I think to myself, if they would build a better connection with the customer, I would buy more.
The other thing, I go back to that again because it's my shtick, eye contact. You don't know what the person is thinking. You don't know if they need help. You don't know if they want to be left alone. If you don't look at them.
You're right.
And most of these guys with the trucks full of food, they're going through there and you're worried they're going to run you over, much less look at you and care about you.
Right. Well, I think for them, their job is to do the shelves. And they're told to do the shelves. And they have 2 hours to do the shelves. So in their defense, that's all they're supposed to do.
That's great, but then you have somebody at the cash register whose job is to process the food and get it through. So with that kind of an attitude, nobody's really being friendly.
Think about, have you been in the supermarket and you bring something to the cashier and she goes, what's this? And you go, mean, what's that?
Yeah.
Well, what's this? Then she picks up the next vegetable and she kind of goes, like wrinkles up her nose. And what do you do with this? By that time you say, oh, well, anyway, why doesn't she know her fruits and vegetables? Or you go into a restaurant and you say to the person, how's the shrimp today? Oh, I have seafood allergies. I can't eat shrimp. Well, now you think maybe you should have seafood allergies, or maybe you have them too. But, a salesperson, a really great salesperson says to you, in the kitchen they tell me such and such is great. Or I was looking at the desserts. Oh, I hope you save room for those because, oh, that chocolate cake, oh my God, it's just like magnificent. And then they kind of touch you on the arm. And
that's a dangerous thing.
Just a little touch,
okay.
You might not even notice. As we go through the dinner and we talk and we laugh, and towards the end, it just touch you on the arm slightly. And you know, we're friends by now, and I've already said to you,
right.
Wait a minute, I've got the cake for
that
you.
Worked. That was no problem.
God.
Yep.
I had cake, I could have sold it to you then.
I need some right now.
And that's that part about building connections with your customers. And if you don't build a connection, the customer feels no reason to ever come back. But if you treat me way better and you remember me and you call me and you know you come with your daughter and you say your daughter's playing soccer, and the next time I come in I say, how was the soccer game? You know, I think we're starved at this point for connections. If you look at where our connections have gone face to face to the internet. Yesterday I was in a restaurant and there were this young couple having lunch. She had a BlackBerry and he had a BlackBerry. They were sitting across from each other doing their BlackBerries. They didn't look at each other and they were kind of eating in between texting. And I thought, I wonder what kind of salespeople these people would make. It's like they couldn't look at each other, and you know, it's like, what happened to us? But for businesses, the internet is really the next level. But if you're good with your customers, you take them to the next level and you say to them, you know, we have a Facebook. Would you join us on Facebook? Would we be out there? We talk about all the events we're going to have in our store, and you know, we have kind of clubs and things. Would you join us? Now you take your customer you built that great relationship with, and you take them online, and you continue to build it. That's red hot customer service.
That's hard to get there.
And it's hard to get there because people think that customer service is doing their job. I give you your stuff, you go home, you give me $5, I give you $5 worth of stuff. That's not customer service.
Well, they put a sign, customer service.
I know, that's doing your job.
Right.
And in order to get to the next level, which is the red hot part, you have to be able to, it's like paying your dues. You get there on time, you do your work right, you don't run over the dog, you don't mess up the driveway. That's just, I think they used to call that customer service because you couldn't even get that done 30 years ago.
Basic.
But now, I call the price of entry.
Right.
You do that part, I trust you, now we get ready for the next level, which is now we build the relationship. I call you and I say, you know, I know you're happy with what you bought. You told me you just love it. I'm wondering, is there anybody that you think would benefit from my expertise? I mean, any of your friends, is there anybody I could help like I helped you? Now, I'm willing to do that because I love you. You know, you've been great to me.
And you have to ask.
And you have to ask, and that's the other part, that if you run a good business, the customer gets way down, they go home. If you run a great business, that's your person for life. You call them, you ask for referrals, you invite them to an in-store party. But that's how you build your red-hot customer service so that people always remember.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's tons more. We could do a lot of things. I want to do two things before we end, even though we're moving on here. One is, you do training.
Yes, I do.
Could you talk a little bit about the dynamics of training? I think a lot of people are trying to run their business, but they need information and help to train their staff.
Part of it is actually knowing what's going on in the economy, knowing where the customer is, what's fueling the customer.
Well, I mean, in terms of training your staff.
Yeah, but you need to get your staff people to understand that it's not all about the fact that consumers are not wanting to spend their money or don't have it. Part of it's not having trust in things like, remember General Motors, all these people, all of a sudden, were out of business, and you go, who'd ever thought it? So they have to understand that trust is number one. So you have to get your salespeople to understand that the consumer will spend because they're spending, but this is not a consumer that's never been to the marketplace. This customer's been out there, they're savvy. So, but they're looking to trust, you need to trust. They need to trust you. And so you've got to figure out, what is trust? What about your business says trust? What kind of warranties do you have? What is the value of what you do? How do you impart that to a customer? I mean, I'm willing to, if somebody calls me from here and says, would you go check out my customer service? All they have to do is tell me, what is it you want your salespeople to do? I'll go in and do a free inventory of what's going on with your salespeople, and then you can use that data to train. Because you have to see the interaction, and somebody has to go out and watch that interaction and have like a check sheet. This is what I want them to do. They're supposed to smile. They are supposed to say hello. And so I check that, and then I go back and say, okay, this is what they're doing. Now, you want them to do something else? We have to help them understand the reason why they have to.
Okay.
And so that's what you need to do before you ever train. Have somebody call your customers on the phone, the ones that, I call them the defectors. You know, the ones that used to come,
right.
Don't come anymore. Have somebody call them and say, hey, look, what happened? What did we do? Used to be a great customer of ours. Or you have to have somebody else call them who says, I'm trying to help them improve their customer service. What could they have done to make you be a customer? And where did you go? And what did you purchase that we would have liked to have purchased from us? You collect all that data, plus having somebody shop your store. Now you've got information to train people with. I mean, people don't want to be trained by somebody who doesn't know them and say, this is what you should do. But if I come in with data about your past customers who don't like you anymore, and I have all the data as to why, and I have information about how you act with customers, now salespeople will listen. Because for the most part, people want to be better. They want to be effective. And they want to build relationships in their life. They don't turn people off.
I mean,
some do, but
not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
I mean, not deeply.
Not deeply.
Even Scrooge
gave
in the end.
Right. So you have to collect data on customers and take that data and build a sales training program around that. And then it becomes really important for the person who's involved in the training. They say, wow. I mean, you don't come in and say, you know, Mrs. Jones said you were a jerk. Just put all the data together and let's look at what you have. And then you can ask them, what would you do? First of all, if these were the complaints you had,
how would you address them?
Yeah, let's break them into groups and let's look at how would you do that.
Okay.
And so now you put that together, and then we look at, okay, we have a couple things here we're not sure how to fix. That's what we'll train about. Okay, I don't really know what to do when a customer has 3 kids running around the store and I'm afraid they're going to jump on something and get hurt. And I got like nervous and I said, don't do that. They'll get hurt. And the customer got mad and walked out. So there are things that an outside expert can help you with. But first we have to collect the data, get to know the salespeople, and find out what their customers really want. And then we can improve it. And then we can do a follow-through after that. Then we can find out, did their numbers change? You know, is our business growing because of what we did? And also, is their confidence better? You know, people need, particularly in times like this is an opportunity to continue to really build your business. But you have to focus on the customers you have and how they feel about you. So you have to work harder.
And the last thing I wanted to do is tell people about your book.
Thank you.
So you tell them about it because you know a lot more about it than I do.
Well, again,
Red Hot Customer Service, 35 sizzling ways to heat up your business and ignite your sales. So what were you trying to do, and how can people get the book?
They can get the book by coming to my website or just emailing me at Red Hot Customer Service. The reason I wrote the book was because I began to see through my training that customer service sort of gets a bad name. It's kind of like, oh, if you ask any business, do you do customer service? What are they going to tell you? Oh, we're lousy. Well, oh yeah, we don't ever do anything. Everybody believes they give customer service. What they can't explain is what their customer service is. What are those 10 things that you do that make a customer want to come back, be enduring to you, tell all their friends about you? Nobody can tell you. And I thought, wow, this customer service thing, it's not this boring thing. It's pretty exciting if you look at it as a way, this is how you're going to build your business. So I went out, I interviewed great salespeople and said, like, what do you do? And like by the time I got done, I wanted to buy from them just because I liked them. And I looked at all that, and there's a consistency. And that's what I wrote about. What is the consistency that you can do that makes you different in the marketplace, that makes people want to come back over and over again? And again, it's that human connection that we had 30 years ago, 40 years ago. When you went to the store, the butcher knew what my mother liked. He knew her. He called her Mrs. Calandrino. He was respectful because he had to be. There weren't many people with money.
And I guess that's really where staff needs training, because in order to avoid the mistakes that you can make when you just turn somebody loose and say, be friendly, hey man, what's happening? You know, you've got to really be able to communicate with a wide range of people in the right way and read them.
You know, that's very interesting because, first of all, mature businesses is what I call them. They're owned mostly by older men over 50 who ran businesses for men, not for women. A young guy comes in, or a young couple with earrings and piercings, and they go, that's not my customer, so they sort of dismiss them. Not keeping in mind that in 10 years, that person will be my customer.
So you need to learn how to relate to that person.
If you have older salespeople, or I call mature salespeople who've been doing this for 20 years, we're good with people of our own age. We know what they think. We sort of have like a connection. Do you remember when?
That's the easy part.
That's the easy part. What's not easy is the kid who comes home who's texting on their BlackBerry and you say, rude. Or they're on their cell phone, you go, oh, I would have never done that. Didn't their mother teach them? And now you're already annoyed at them.
It's not your goal. Your goal is to sell to them.
Your goal is to build that rapport, and in 10 years, that person will be your customer. Or a little kid who comes in and says, you know, you go, sit down and be quiet. The little kid says, well, I'm not coming here anymore. And we remember all those things. So if you own a business and you want to sell it in 15 years, that 15-year-old that comes in the door today with his mother or her mother, that is your next customer. I mean, all the customers that you know will probably be gone or whatever. You're selling a business that has no worth because you haven't built, like just what you said, that rapport with the customer that you don't understand. You know, what are they wearing that for? Why did they cut their hair that way? You know, why are they on their cell phone? When in actuality, you should be out trying to figure out why you don't own a BlackBerry, why you're not texting, why you're not on Facebook.
And try to communicate with them
Right.
and figure it out. And then when you figure it out, do it more.
Right, because that's the next generation of your customer. And I speak about the whole social networking and how it fits into where your business is now. How you take your great customer service now, kick it up to the next level, which is to keep your customers around you. Because there's not many of them. They have less money. And there are twice as many of you trying to get the same customer. So you can't let them go. You have to figure out how to keep them around. And that's why I wrote the book. How to figure out how to do that and how to get your people to really, really want to do that.
Perfect. Liz, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So it's been a lot of fun talking to you.
It's been lots of fun. Thank you.
And I guess we're at the end. And now I get to hope everyone has a great week and that you tune in again next time. Take care.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.